Greetings, onliners. It's been a while since I've sent you a video, so I thought that I would use the events of last week and the discussion board that we answered about intrinsic and extrinsic values, and couple that with the events of this week to send you this video. Last week we were asked the question of what things happen in your organization that have both intrinsic and extrinsic value. Intrinsic, of course, are being those things that we feel internally, things like engagement or pride of affiliation or just a feeling of accomplishment. And extrinsic, of course, those things that are external, things like promotions or monetary bonuses and good pay or pay raises, things like that. And it's indeed true that the total compensation that you have from your employer is probably going to have some both intrinsic and extrinsic value, the feeling of advancement, bonuses, recognition, that sort of thing. But I wanted to also couple that with the events of this week and the events of Tuesday night and on into Wednesday morning as we discovered who is going to be our next president. And irregardless of your political affiliation or who you voted for, this was going to be a historical election. Historical from a political standpoint in that we were going to either have our first woman president or we were going to have, really a first non-military, non-political outsider voted in since probably the days of George Washington, quite frankly. So it was going to be historic there. So that was some extrinsic type values to that, some historical things that would be on the outside of being why there is a line item about this particular election in the history books. Intrinsically, though, this election has certainly had a huge impact and a very divisive impact throughout our country. Intrinsically, there are things that were being debated, things said, allegations made, side investigations going on into the candidates, background dug up, comments re-recorded, and quite frankly, a very ugly political campaign from both sides. The best thing that I can say that would be what we need to do going forward is within your own sphere of influence. We need to look toward resolution, toward coming together from healing. There are still very tense and hot opinions out there, raw feelings, emotion. I saw a recent report, some of you may have seen it last Sunday on 60 Minutes, of a pollster who could not even keep his groups together civil because of the anger and the high level of emotion that was running through the people, the focus groups that he had put together. My charge to you is this: regardless of who you voted for, we are still one of the greatest nations in the world. Are our leaders flawed? Yes. But leaders have been flawed from the outset of history. Moses was flawed. Abraham was flawed. All of these people who history has shown to be, at least biblical history has shown to be amazing leaders. David was flawed. The only person to ever walk this earth who was not was our Savior, Jesus Christ. So my charge to you is this: look to be open, look toward resolution, look toward healing. There are things that being mad about is not going to get fixed. Solutions are found outside of emotion. So put aside your angst and your anger, and let's take a look at the way that you, in your sphere, and me in mine, can be an instrument of peace and an example of God's love and grace to work toward resolution of the things that are facing the population of our country and the things that will impact us on those extrinsic things like our paychecks and those intrinsic things about like the availability of jobs and the availability of care for ourselves, our children, our parents. So that's my message for this week is the election is now over. And people are still voicing their concern, which is their God-given and American Constitution-given right to do. But realize that just staying mad will never resolve. So in your own sphere of influence, reach out in grace, reach out in peace, reach out in the love of our Savior Jesus Christ to work toward resolution. And see if we can't take steps toward overcoming some of these challenges that we face as a nation. That's about as political as I ever get, and I hope that you find this message encouraging. You guys are doing a great job. I'm very, very pleased with the papers that you're submitting, the responses from your discussion board post, your proactive approach at getting this work done. You're doing great. We're getting really, really close to the end of the semester, and I charge you, as it says in Philippians, to forget what is behind and strive forward to that for which you've been called heavenward. And I look forward to seeing you next time. And in the meantime, keep up the good work, and we'll talk to you later. Bye now.